Hello, Dimitri Dimitriou from ImmuPharma. Can you explain us a bit about your company?
Of course. Thank you very much for the opportunity, first of all. So ImmuPharma is a drug development company which has been around for about 20 years now. The history of the company goes back to a collaboration which we set up when we started with the French Institution for National Research, which is called CNRS in French. And this is the biggest research institution in Europe. It's one of the biggest in the world. So we work in partnership when there are discoveries which we feel in our areas of exclusivity are interesting, and then we take the drugs forward for development. So our portfolio is focusing in areas which include immunology and autoimmune diseases. And the drug which we have in the most advanced stage is for a relatively rare disease, which is called lupus.
Recently, in December 2019, you had a dual listing in Euronext Brussels. Can you explain us a bit why did you do that?
Of course. First of all, just to say that we have been listed in London for about 15 years now. So we have been on the capital markets for a while. We understand how they work and we're happy with the UK side. But we wanted to have a foothold also in Europe, to be able to trade also in euros. And looking at the possible exchanges, the obvious one is Euronext, and that is also tying with the French heritage. And I think when you look at Euronext, there are different areas where the stock exchanges are based in each country, but Euronext is all one. So we chose Brussels partly because it has a very good, I would say, vibrant and cosmopolitan community. Which is in the sector.
How unique is ImmuPharma in the biotech world?
Well, we have a few things which makes us very different. So the first one is that we try to keep the development outsourced, and we try to keep a semi-virtual structure to keep the cost low. And we focus in areas which are niche, where we know that when the drug works, the price will be very high. And because the cost of goods is very low, and the areas are relatively rare diseases, then the upside for the patients and the financial community obviously is very high. So we're focusing in diseases which are very unmet. And lupus is one of the jewels in the crown, but it's not the only asset which we have.
Can you explain us a bit about lupuses?
Yeah, lupus is a disease of the immune system. It's an autoimmune disease, so the immune system attacks yourself. And the background to the disease is that there is a trigger from the immune system in one of our fragments of the proteins which we have inside us, and the immune system creates antibodies against you, and effectively you can't escape. So it's a disease which is often deadly. Patients have sometimes quite a length of survival, but nevertheless a very bad life. 90% of the patients tend to be female, and it's a disease which is called autoimmune. Other autoimmune diseases, for example, which are more known, are Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis, etc. And this is one of the areas where we are very good at.
And how far is your research in this disease?
Lead drug, which we took from the French institution when it was discovered, when the company started, has passed, I think, most of the stages so far. So now it's pretty much at the end. So we completed all the preclinical, obviously, early on, then phase 1 in patients, phase 2A in patients, phase 2B. And we had closed also a very big deal during the phase 2B. And then we completed last year a phase 3. Which was effectively part of the last stage of development. And there is one more phase 3 trial which we have to perform. And we plan to be starting that hopefully soon, during this year.
And then you will first send it to the FDA or to the EMA?
That's a good question. Drugs tend to be global products, so they tend to be submitted to the FDA and the EMA at similar times. The important thing to understand is that the development will be enough to satisfy both the European side and the American side. And on that front, we are delighted because we closed about a month ago a deal with a US company which has taken the exclusivity for the US in return of paying milestones and royalties, but also fully funding the next phase 3. So the development now is funded.
What could investors expect from the company for the coming years?
What I would say the upside when you look at the numbers is very high. For example, the drug for lupus could sell at the price of about 20,000 per patient. That means with only 50,000 patients, you would have $1 billion in sales. It's difficult to see exactly because there aren't many drugs for these diseases, what is the market in these patients. But when you look in the literature and some of the professional organizations, like the Lupus Foundation of America, they claim that in the US, there are 1.5 million patients. There seem to be data that globally there are about 5 million. So to have 50,000 patients only for $1 billion, I mean, sales could be tremendously high. So that is when sales are there. But before even sales or royalties start clicking in, a little bit more than a year ago, a market cap was 10 times almost what it is now. So I think even recovering to where we were a year and a bit ago would make a very big difference.
Okay, Mr. Dimitriou, thanks for the interview.
Thank you too.